Howdy everybody in YouTube land. What we have in front of us today is yet another SE30. I seem to work on a lot of these in this channel. Now this one was an acquisition at VCF East 2024. I don't know much about it other than we played with it. The analog circuitry, power supply circuitry works. The logic board, however, has got a weird fault that it doesn't post, it doesn't do anything except just power up, and I think it produces like a Samazi Mac type output, but I don't remember. It's been a few months. So anyways, I figured we might as well crack this guy open. We did some basic troubleshooting at the show, and I couldn't really figure it out. The logic fault was a weird situation, so I think at this point we just need to pull this apart and verify the fault because, again, I don't remember. I don't think it has a hard drive. I'm not sure, but yeah. Other than that, cosmetically, it's in decent shape. It's not pristine by any stretch of the imagination. There's a couple of scratches. There's a little crack over here, maybe a little crack here, but nothing not too unheard of with machines like this. The screen itself, yeah, there's a little bit of burn in. It's not a heavy burn. It's not a light burn. It's like a medium burn. I don't know if that means it's got a weak CRT or good CRT. I don't know. I've kind of seen it go both ways. So I definitely want to test the CRT, and I definitely need to figure out what's going on with the logic board. So, all right, let's get this guy apart so we can take a gander inside and see what happens. All right, I went ahead and put those two chips back in there, some new ones, and repopulated all the caps. No ROM or anything. And that's what we got. And that raster is really dim, so we need to work on that. But before we do, yeah, I want to see if this thing is going to walk the bus. Because I really don't know. So, this is why I like this little stick here. Because this thing is awesome for being able to tell if it's going to walk the bus. It is, kind of. Yeah. It's walking the bus. And then it froze. Alright, so it is walking the bus. We know the CPU will run. So let's get the ROM in there, because I want to see what happens with that. No RAM. I should get death chimes, but we'll see. Alright, so with the ROM in, and I do a reset, that's all we get. It's stuck in this one state. So it does walk the bus, so the CPU runs, but when it goes to access the rest of the system bus, we're having a hard lockup somewhere. So we've either got a data or address line floating off into space somewhere, I think. So we're going to need to do some work with that. But yeah, I found the original ROM. This has the same black label this one does. So yeah, I did bring the ROM back. So I thought I left the ROM behind, but I did not. Anyway, so yeah. Where to start with this one? Alright, it's not running with the original ROM connected in straight through either. There's no sound of it. You hear a little pip from the speaker, which is normal, but there's no chime, there's nothing. So where do we go from here? Well, that's a real good question. So I think I'm going to do what I normally do in a situation like this, and that is basically we have to look at this thing logistically. Now, one thing I do want to point out is someone has messed with this glue. You can kind of see a bulge in the back where it was reflown in, and there's no flux residue, but you can tell someone had tinkered with this. So I don't know, but I'm just gonna ignore that for now. I'm gonna go follow my intuition, and what my intuition says, the way these boards go bad and the way they corrode, you can just see the issue right there with the SCSI chip. So I think what we're going to do is I am going to check the data bus and address bus between all of these chips. The Apple Sound chip, the serial communications controller chip and the SCSI chip and the SWIM chip back to where they all go, and verify all address buses and data buses between all of these chips and wherever else they go. That's step one, because I need to verify that the data path is not broken between all of that, issue. The address bus is making it over here 100% because we could verify that with the address lines, because these are your address lines and these are your data lines. If you look up close, you can kind of see how that's laid out. There's your address and then there's your data. So that's working. I'm not expecting any breaks through here. So if we're going to have any breaks, it's going to be back here. So that's where we need to go. We need to pay attention to the rear and check all of the connections between all of those ICs. Now, I forget exactly where I printed this off or where I got this thing, but this is an excellent troubleshooting guide because this tells you all the address lines and where they go. And this tells you all of the data lines and where they go as well. So I can take a look at D0 because I know I'm working with SWIM, SCSI, serial, all this stuff. I can compare all of that, which is down here, against all of these other chips. And I'll know exactly where they go and how to test for this. Now those diodes, those are the ones that are underneath this RAM slot that I've done a previous video on. That was a problem with a reloaded board, but there's the document that I'm going to use to run all the comparisons, and that's going to make life so much easier. Alright, so here's what we've discovered so far. Now, I've not checked any control signals. I've only checked the address lines and the data lines. And we have D27 broken on the SWIM, which is like right here. And then we have D30, which is broken at the SCSI serial communications controller and the Apple sound chip. So this probably won't stop it from booting, but that will, because the SWIM is pretty important on the SE30 anyways. But now that we know that, we're going to have to go grab the other schematics that has the control signals, because I need to check the chip select and control signals on all of these back to the rest of the system so I can verify that all of that is good. Because that right there would definitely cause the issues we are seeing for sure. So, alright, we have that now. So let's check the rest of the lines going to that chip. And it seems like when I work on these SE30 boards, that is the most common thing, is the breaks here. And they typically break because there's vias that come through here where these three capacitors are. They break right there a lot of the times. But in this case, we have a break right here because if I measure this via there, it's still connected everywhere. It's only broke between that via and this chip. So that'll be a relatively short patch wire. But there's another break at one of these vias that are not allowing these to work. So yeah, it's fairly common with these boards. Luckily, we have the option of the reloaded board. So if I wanted to, I could pull all of those parts off and transfer them to a new circuit board. But this board is not damaged enough physically for me to do that. Now, if there was a lot of trace rot and there was some damage over here from a leaky battery or something, then yeah, I would. But we don't need to do that with this board, so we're just going to patch all of that up. What I've done here is on 11x17 paper, I've printed out the schematic to the actual reloaded board, which should be pretty much the same. But I also have the public recreated schematics. I've also printed it on 11x17, so this should make life a whole lot easier chasing some of these signals. Alright, so here's what I've found so far. We only have 2 more breaks, and it's on the SCSI chip. So we have to patch those up or we won't have any SCSI. Now, again, I don't see any alarming breaks that would stop the whole thing from even chiming or anything like that, with the exception of these 2 here. So we'll patch those up and we'll see if this thing fires up. At least I'm hoping it does. Alright, so all of the patches are made. Turns out one of the breaks was right there at the chip, so I could bob it over. That one's patched, that one's patched. I double checked the SCSI error queue. It doesn't go to the glue, it goes over here, so I didn't need that patch. But there's 3 patches in place. Only thing left to do now is try to see if it will fire up. So, crossing my fingers. Alright, so we're all wired back up. Crossing our fingers. Let's try this again. No. Nothing. Nope. Nothing. Okay, I don't have RAM in it, but I should still get a chime. So, alright, well, before I start going down a rabbit hole, I'm going to swap this ROM SIMM with a known good one, because this one is the one that came with this board. And the only reason why I know is someone put a label on it. So, let's grab another one. Here's a known good one that I know works. So let's try this again. There you go. So something's up with that ROM SIMM. Okay, well. But at least now we've got, you know, a chime, so that works. Okay, so let's get some RAM in here and see what happens. I don't have any RAM handy at the moment, only the ROM SIMM, so let me go grab some RAM. Alright, now I've been tinkering around. I grabbed the other ROM SIMM, the original one. Took the sticker off, so just in case. But what I've noticed is if I push on this SIMM, it works. But if I let go, it does this. So there's a break somewhere on that SIM card. Well, yeah. I got RAM installed. Now, I've been tinkering with this thing for quite a while now, even to the point where I've tried to add a little bit of extra solder to the contacts, but it's clear to me that the SIMM isn't the problem, the socket is. The socket is completely shot, so it's going to have to be replaced. Unfortunately, I don't have any sockets around, so it's not likely going to work like that, see? So, yeah, it's unfortunate. But I have to pull the thing all the way back in order to get it to work. But anyways, one thing I do know is the RAM, I think, works fine. So, let's see. No. Yeah, it won't. I can't get it to work. So we're going to have to do something about that socket. It's unfortunate, but that's what we have. So, yeah. Good news is, however, if I hold the socket or hold the ROM all the way back while turning it on, it works. So the motherboard is working fine. The logic board's fixed. We did fix that, but we're going to have to do something about that socket. Oh, so painful. But it is what it is. So all we can do is fix it. Alright, so the new replacement, the electronic socket. The new replacement socket is installed. So I'm going to put my known good ROM. And what I did was I stole the socket off of my testers because it's not as critical. But I went ahead and just put that in there, and hopefully that solves my problem. So let's see. Yay. It does. Okay, good. Now that means I have to clean this one up. And I want to try the original. So that one works. So let's clean this one up. This is the original, and see if that works. Right, so I pulled the good one out, put the original one back in after cleaning it up with a little bit of sandpaper and a desoldering iron. Let's see. No. Alright, so that one's bad for sure. Okay, so we're going to need a new ROM SIMM. Where are we going to get one of those? Alright, so added some fresh solder, cleaned those contacts up, sanded them back down, you know, trying to get it as clean as I possibly could. So let's try it again. Works that time. There's my good one, my original one. We'll set it out off the way there. Yeah, I'm gonna let that run. Now, okay, RAM is working. There's no weird issues there. I'll throw BlueSCSI in there and see if the system will boot, but there's still a problem because look how dim that raster is. It's turned all the way up too. So, and it was really bright earlier and the fan was running faster. So I'm wondering if we've got issues in that power supply too. So now that we can move the logic board out of the way, we need to move on to the power supply and analog board because it looks like it needs some attention. Now, as for this original socket, well, you can see what happened there from someone before me. And then I pushed that terminal down trying to work on it myself. But anyways, so garbage. Alright, so I checked the logic board voltages. We're dead on. We're running about 5.0 volts and 12.5 volts off the logic board. So that seems to be okay. Now, we have this. I didn't put that there, so someone's been in here. Which we already knew that because we're missing the floppy drive. We're missing all kinds of things. But anyways, I got it as a parts machine knowing full well what I was going to put into it anyways. But so that's working properly now. So now what I need to do is figure out why this CRT is so dim. Now, there could be a couple reasons for that. The 12 volts that runs the logic board and the 12 volts that runs the analog board are separate voltages. Logic 12 and sweep 12. So I need to check the sweep 12 volts because if it's low, well, there you go. But if that's good, then I need to grab out the tube tester and check the CRT. So let me get all this off and see what we got going on. Right, so here we go. We're going to check some power supply voltages here. Negative 11.7. 5 volts. Check you. 5 volts. Let's see, there should be some 12 volt here. No, maybe not. Maybe here. Yeah, 12 volts. Now, sweep voltage. 12 volts. Alright, so that means our sweep voltage. Let's see here. 9.5 volts. That might be normal. I don't know. Yeah, 12 volts on one side of the resistor, 9.5 on the other. So, okay. Input voltages wise, that doesn't explain why we have a problem with the dark screen. We do have issues with solder joints, like there. There's some really bad ones over here, and all of these. All the solder joints need taken care of, just like it does on every single one of these machines. So that much I know, but that's not why we have a dark screen. So I think the next step is we need to grab the tube tester and check that CRT and see what it reads. Because if that CRT is low in emissions, that makes a lot of sense. So, but I do remember it being bright for a second or two and then dimming down. So, it's possible the flyback is bad too. And it's not producing enough voltage. And actually, an easy way to tell that is if I grab my high voltage probe. I should be able, because this thing runs about 10 kV. So I can grab my high voltage probe and check that high voltage to see if it's still running in spec. It's not hot, but that doesn't mean much. So yeah, let me do that actually. Alright, so it's on now. We're running at about 12 kilovolts, a little under 12. That's good. So it's not a flyback issue. So that's pointing more and more towards a bad CRT. So let me go grab the tube tester. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's wasted. That picture tube is done. That's why it's dark. So okay, so we've got a bad CRT. And it's getting worse. Alright, so let's set the bias. I got a normal bias. It's just done. At normal bias, I have no cutoff, which is kind of normal for these particular tubes anyways. So Yeah, it's in the good, but I could tell you right now, a good CRT should be past this 12 mark, almost into the 14 mark, somewhere between 12 and 14. So we are way down. So that means we need to hit this thing with the rejuve. So, okay. It's not really doing anything. Oh yeah, look how fast it falls off. Yeah, it is toast. Alright, now if I do a live test, that CRT's gone. It is. So here's what we're going to do. That CRT's wasted, so it's no good. So it was just full rejuve. There we go. Just hit it with a full rejuve, which basically killed my cutoff. But I'm back up into the 12 again, so just no cutoff control. But hey, I don't know how long that's gonna last, but she's done. All right. Well, let's see if that made any improvement. Hopefully it did. All right. Board's back on. Everything's back together. Here we go. See if that made any difference in picture improvement here. Now I have black screen. You know what? I think it's these bad solder joints. Because that's not good. Oh yeah, I'm not getting any. Yeah, I gotta do some resoldering. Yeah, see what I mean? That CRT is wasted. Yeah, buddy. Gone. Do you see that? It just faded away. It's done. The CRT has had it. So we're going to have to replace the picture tube. Alright, that's better. So, because I lost a little bit of the cutoff after hitting it with the rejuve, I had to go in here and actually adjust it on the board to bring it up. But yeah, we're good now. Nice and bright again. I find that strange with these though, because this thing does not have that much burn in on it. Because I've got CRTs that have far worse burn in that aren't nearly as dim as this one. I don't know if it's a difference between a Samsung CRT versus the Clinton CRTs. I'm not sure. It's very strange to me, but anyways, I've got it taken care of now. So it's on borrowed time, because once you hit these things with a rejuve, they don't last forever. Now, it's possible. There is the remote possibility that the CRT is gassy, which has oxidized the cathode layer a little bit. Because what happens is when the cathode oxidizes, it can't emit anymore. So what the rejuve does is it blows off that oxide layer. So now sometimes if you bake a CRT long enough and use it long enough, it'll naturally come back as it burns off the oxide layer. It's known as cathode poisoning. People that work on 1940s and 50s vintage televisions know exactly what I'm talking about. And that could have been the case here too. And hitting it with the rejuve blew off that oxide layer, because the gun itself does not have that bluing in it where it's been used a lot. So I don't know. It's so strange to me. But anyways, we have insufficient width, so we need to adjust that. The height is also not correct either. So I've got to do some adjustments. But before I can do that, I need to actually resolder all of the bad solder joints on that board. So I have to do that first. Alright, I went ahead and did some resoldering on this board. So the next thing I want to do is I actually want to get this board completely out and the power supply completely out, because I want to check and inspect all of the capacitors, because it's completely unknown, and from what I've found with this system so far, it feels like someone just put all the bad parts into one system and then kicked it down the road. Anyway, so I want to pull all of that out, and I want to double inspect all of that before I try to start buttoning this thing back up together, I think. So here's how you quickly turn a SE30 restoration project into a parts machine. So as soon as I got off the you know, the board and all that stuff, I bumped my acetone can. And because I bumped my acetone can, look what it's done. It's ruined the faceplate of this freaking SE30. So now it's completely ruined. All those splotches are acetone spills. It's junk. So, oh well. Moving on to plan B. So when I picked up that one, I picked this one up along with it. Now, I've not opened this one yet, so I don't know how bad it is, but as you can say, or see, we can say it too if you want to, severe battery damage. So I don't know how damaged that actually means. Because if the chassis is completely gone and rotten out, then it might actually work out, because I could probably make one good one from the pair. So, and this one still has the disk drive in it. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. But so let's pop this one apart. And plus, that CRT doesn't have nearly the amount of burn-in or anything. So that picture tube actually might be decent. So between the two, I might be able to make one good one. So yeah, this one also has the little bit of dirt and rubbish and stuff like that, so you can see what the original color looked like. So not a big deal, but let's crack that one apart and see how bad that one is actually. Spicy, yummy. So this one is the actual CRT and analog board is in amazing condition. It's in much better shape than the other one. When it looks like it's got low hours, it's just already unplugged when I got it, but I don't see any bluing. This looks like the Clinton CRT, so I'm going to check that CRT later. But for now, let me get this out of the way, because this is, God. Because my plan originally was to fix this one, get this one down the road, and then clean this one up, depending on how bad it was, because I have replacement boards. So, and then kick this one down the line, but that's not going to happen now, because there's people that want SE30s, and I have like 3 of these I want to fix up and get rid of. Well, one just got knocked out of the running, so now I got 2. So, anyways, that's just how it goes sometimes. You know, it's vintage, alright? This kind of thing happens. Ooh, yeah, that is not good. You know, it looks like someone stole some parts off of that one too. Yeah, but you know what? It's fine, because I have spare boards. But wow, that one's bad. So yeah, let's see how bad the chassis is. Ooh, 80 meg hard drive. So we have a hard drive stuff for that other machine. So, oh yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, the chassis, I can actually like sandblast that and fix it, but do I want to? So now I've got a crossroads to figure out. Let's see, how bad is this bucket? Because I'm curious. Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's hidden on the inside. But that's the matching bucket for that faceplate. So maybe I can use that bucket with this face and then pair these together. Since this is battery bombed anyways, I can keep that face just the way it is, fix it anyways, and then maybe sell it really cheap as not so much as a display piece, but as a functional machine. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll figure that out. I could probably sell it for at least the cost of the logic board at minimum, because those logic boards, I don't know what they're selling for, $100, $150, I don't know. But anyways, I'm not worried about that right now. But this is my plan B, at least to get that one down the line, because there's someone interested in it who's doing development for vintage Macs and doesn't have a real Mac, so trying to help this person out, so that's what we're going to do. You know, I'm taking a closer look at this board. Do you realize that someone powered this on? Look at that. Someone attempted to power this board up like this. That, no, that's never gonna work. Never gonna work. Yeah. Anyways, at least all of these are good, because these are like, especially this one is unobtainium. So all this stuff is good, so I can populate a reloaded board with it. I decided to pull the drives out, and yeah, the chassis is rough. It is. But the drives may have been spared. There's a little bit of surface rust on that one, but other than that, it's decent. So, and there's no rubbing or anything like that. So that drive actually might be okay. So then I pulled the hard drive out, which I'm going to put a BlueSCSI in there anyways. And the hard drive itself appears to be untouched. Yeah, I like this early plus chip. Remember the hard card 20 and the hard card 40? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're the same company. Anyways, or at least were. Yeah, well, this drive here might be early enough to not have the rubber problem, but I'm not sure. I don't have a working quantum drive at all, besides the ones that I've had to, throw a rubber thingy in there. But so that's going to get replaced with BlueSCSI. But other than that, everything appears to be here. So this floppy drive metal thingy bracket, I think I have one or two of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace that and get rid of this one. The chassis could probably be sandblasted, but that's not for this video. This video is to get that one fixed and working, but I have to take two and make one good one, basically. And then the other one, I might piecemeal the other one back together and kick it down the road cheap. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, so I got this thing completely stripped down now, and I just got to clean all this crap out of here, and then I can start putting the other parts in. So yeah, that's completely nasty, and that I'm going to use this analog board and that picture tube instead, but I should test this tube to see where it reads. But if it's okay, I'm just going to use this stuff as it is, because it would be better suited since, well, the logic board, works. So I'll be back shortly. Alright, so this is all cleaned out and got everything removed, and I had to seal some cracks with some MEK over here because these standoffs are starting to crack now. It also depends on how that thing was stored. But anyways, actually, with a little bit of Magic Eraser melamine foam, it actually didn't come out too bad. I mean, that's actually, you can see it a little bit, but not really. It's actually not that bad. So, but I'm swapping it anyways, because I'm not gonna, in good faith, I can't send a weak CRT and a crappy face out to the person who wants this thing. So I can't do that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to move the good frame and all that stuff over to this plastic, which is in better shape, which I think has a better CRT. And actually, we need to test that CRT. And then I'll sandblast this battery bomb thing and just build this out of the old battery bomb parts and kick it down the road as its own thing. But for now, that's what we're going to do. Now, one thing I've noticed is this guy has definitely been hot. And that is actually fairly common with these. And the way to fix that is what we're going to have to do is get in there and squeeze in those pins, deoxit the pin, and do the same thing to the board there. And hopefully that will solve our problem with that so it doesn't do it again. And then fix the bad connections that ultimately cause it. And then we'll be good to go. So let's get all of that done. So I took the cage off of the splotched one, and look at this. More broken standoff. So I'm wondering if these are finally starting to shrink and crack and fall apart like those PowerBook series machines. So in the meantime, I'm going to use this analog board instead. So that means we need to warm all this stuff back up. But we need to go ahead and start resoldering all of this as well. So yeah, you can see where things got hot right here, especially this cap. I wonder if that cap is still good. I don't know. It's a really good question. And I don't think I have any of those on hand. Don't think so. But anyways, the solder joints on this board are not quite as bad as the other one, but they definitely need attention. You can see that like right here. They definitely need attention. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. I want to take the lid off of this power supply, and I want to inspect the capacitors under there and get this thing back together, I think. Alright, so I took the cover off the power supply. I'm not seeing any signs of leakage yet. I might pull this out and look a little closer, but I don't know. These older Rubicons are solid. It's usually the Nichicons and United Kimicons, Nippon Kimicons I see that are leaking, like these. So, but these, I don't know. I'm not seeing a problem. However, what I do see, though, is this IC here. Now, I don't know if this video will get uploaded before or after the Walkman video, but I did a Walkman video, and this epoxy dipped style chip made by Sony, they're starting to go conductive, and it's the epoxy that does. So eventually that thing's going to need an acetone bath and all the plastic coating peeled off of it. So yeah, that's going to be an issue eventually on all of these, but according to this, 1990, so it puts it in that era where the caps start leaking, so I don't know. What to do. Some of these capacitors I don't have on hand right now. I'm missing those, and I'm missing this 6800, but I have all the rest of them. So for now, I'm just going to leave them. I got to order the parts to actually recap this thing, but for now I'm going to leave it so I can move on. That way I can get it tested, put in the unit, and put the board in it and get a SCSI drive in there. You know, all the basic stuff that we typically do here. So, alright, I'm going to get that lid back on there and get this out of my way, and then we're going to test the CRT. Alright, CRT is connected. Now, I'm hoping this one's good. Otherwise, I'm going to be mad. Anyway, so, okay, turn you down. So we have 12.6 volts. Check shorts, no shorts. Set gun balance. Oh yeah, I got a lot more cut off this time around. Get you set just right. Emissions. It's coming. Yeah. It's a little bit weak, but it's not terrible. So, oops. There we go. Much better. Alright. Much better. Okay. This is about where they normally read. So, life test is still okay. It's not great, but it's better than what I had. So, alright. So, I think what's happening with a lot of these CRTs, just like the other one, they're both kind of weak. Makes sense. It's seen a lot of hours. But I think the reason why is these have probably sat for 20, 30 years, never turned on, so there's cathode poisoning. So it takes a while for these things to really go. So I didn't even rejuvenate it. I just hit remove shorts, which is kind of like Rejuve 3, but somewhere in the middle. But anyway, so that's done and out of the way. So, all right, let's get this thing back together. Here's a new one for me. So I've run into yet another problem. Remember earlier in the video I kept having to wiggle the harness to get the picture to come in and to get it to work? Well, it's doing the same thing on this one. And this is a different harness and everything. So I was pulling on the harness and it would come on and cut out. So I decided to resolder the Molex connector. Same problem. So I did some checking. Well, the positive 12 volts, which is right here, number 14, the positive 12 volts, it's barely making contact. I got to push on the pin to get this to make contact to the other side of the Molex connector. So that Molex connector is bad. So I got to suck that Molex connector out and see what's going on with this pin, because something's up with that pin. Alright, now that we got it out, you can see the issues. Look at this. So this is, what was it? That's pin 14. That's the one we had a problem with. Well, don't mind this. I got deoxide on here. So there's pin 14, and there's the one across from it. 7 and 14 are like wildly corroded. Oh, will you look at that? Well, there you go. Both of them are, yeah, there. That's the problem. Yep. Dang it. Well, I got to replace that. Or, you know what I could do? This is cheesy as hell. I have multiple grounds. I could probably steal one of the grounds and move it over. It's not super critical. It probably won't matter that much. I don't know. Something to think about. I'm going to do this the silliest way I can think of. I soldered a wire directly to that, and I want to see if it'll fit in this. It's a lost cause anyway, so it can't hurt, right? There. Problem solved. Now, we shall see anyways. Alright, so here we go again. Does it work? Does it not? I don't know, but we're going to find out. Hey, there we go. There. Fixed it. Oh, what a pain in the ass. But I got it. Yeah, it looks like that one's got a weak tube as well. It's not that bad, but it's definitely totally out of adjustment. So, yeah, we'll figure that out. Alright, well, this is all adjusted about as well as it's going to get now. So, yeah. Alright, now that's all adjusted up. The height is adjusted. It's not exactly centered perfect, but the centering rings are glued in place, so I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to leave that alone. So, I've already tested the BlueSCSI on the external port, and it does work. So I know the SCSI works. So the only thing I haven't tested is the floppy drive yet. But anyways, we need to get to the floppy drive. So the board is working fine now. I got to get a reset and a NMI button put on there, and then I can go ahead and put this board back in the chassis. Actually, I can't do that yet because I need to work on the floppy drive. So let me do that first, and then yeah, we'll do that first, and hopefully we get this thing going, because we're already halfway there. So you've seen me service floppy drives at least a half a dozen times on my channel, so I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead here. If I find anything unusual or interesting, I'll video it, but otherwise I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead. Alright, floppy drive's reinstalled. Time to test it. Now I'm going for broke, and I put all this in here without even realizing if this is going to work or not. So here comes the moment of truth. Nope. That is a no. Well, so much for betting on, yeah, anyways. No. There is a problem with the heads on that drive. Okay. You know, nothing is really seeming to go right today. Yeah. Well, so much for going for broke. Took the drive back out. Well, can you see why it's not reading a disk? Huh. Look what I forgot to do. Don't. Alright, let's try this again, shall we? Yay! Yay! Wow. Gotta plug the head cables in. Tends to work better when you do that. It's been a long day. Alright, well, that's good now, so let's figure something else out. Maybe we should work on the hard drive to see if it works. Remember how earlier in the video I said the yoke had a bad connection, had a burn mark? Well, if you look very carefully, I don't know if it'll come out on camera. Maybe not. There is a horizontal line, or vertical line. Yeah, there it is. See that? It's burnt straight in the tube from when this thing suffered the horizontal collapse sometime in its past. So, yeah. So, for entertainment purposes, do you think it's going to work? Hell if I know, but we're going to find out. Nope. Nope. No spinny, spinny, spin, spin. If I were to hazard guess, the board is either dead or it's suffering from stiction. So we got to do some tinkering around. But it was worth a shot to see if it was going to work anyways. But the whole plan was to put it like a BlueSCSI in there regardless. But there we go. Alright, well, let's see here. Does it work? Does it even try? Does it make noise? What does it do? Let's find out. Oh, doing this one-handed is not fun. Oh, I hear it. I don't hear the head. But it spins. That was probably the first time that drive has spun in decades, to be honest. Whew. Does it run or does it not? I don't know, but we're going to find out. It is spinning. Doesn't mean much, but it is spinning. Alright, here goes nothing again. Come on. The hard drive's done. But we'll see if it even tries to do anything. It may not. Be curious to see if those heads are stuck. Oh yeah. Yeah, she's done. Alright. Alright, let's see what Lido says. I don't got a blink. Unable to read. Scuzzy coming. Yeah. Yeah, she's done. She's done. I figured it's safe to take the drive apart and see what the hell's happening before we toss it out anyways. Let's see. What are we running in RAM? 4 megs. That's about what I expected. Alright, so let's get that drive out of there and figure out what we're going to do about that. Alright, so this hard drive is sacrificial anyway. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Nope, actuator's not moving. Oh shit, it's frozen. Well, that'll do it. I bet you... Ooh, I wonder if that's bearing seized. I bet it is. Just like the spindle bearing was seized. Alright, I think I have the actuator freed up, but I don't like how this thing sounds. The head's rubbing on the bladder. But it just initialized. This head was frozen solid. Alright, well, let's put it back together. Unfortunately, the head got itself stuck again, so I had to just carefully, anyway, so I got the head free and the drive actually runs. Last modified in 99, created in 93, and it has a whole bunch of crap on it. Wrap Master. I have no idea, but so I'm gonna go through here and see if there's anything worth saving. Probably not. I mean, network tools. No network. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything worth saving on this thing or not. But anyway, so the drive's running for now. It's just frozen bearings. The spindle bearing's frozen and the actuator bearing's frozen. And to fix it would be a nightmare to permanently fix it, because you'd have to remove the head stack and change those bearings, which is easy to do. But then you'd have to remove the platters with the proper extraction tools so you can get down to the spindle bearing and replace that. Then you can get the drive going again, but the cost of knocking the cylinders out of alignment is high when there's little return. So, not really worth fixing. But at least we got it started up enough to where I could save any potential files off of its programs or whatnot. Personal data, personally identifiable information is going to go bye-bye. So I'm just going to save anything I can off of it, and I'm going to get rid of the drive. There's this piece of software installed on it. Interesting. Someone's got Nirvana on this hard drive. Wow. So the drive died halfway through copying the files. And remember, the actuator was stuck. Well, I can see why. See that molten rubber down there. You can see it on the side of the actuator. See it? like very nasty and stringy. You can see a blob right there on the magnet. So yeah, that's why it died. But so this drive is junk. But I figured, oh well, I was going to try to back it up while it was running. But yeah, that didn't work. So in the trash it goes. Yeah, there you go. Gooey. So that is why it died in mid-copy. So this one over here, look at this. This is just terrible. So just disclaimer, don't do this on drives that has data on it that you care about. Just don't. But since this drive isn't something I give two craps about, so what I did was I cleaned it all up in this nasty acetone here, which actually dissolved all of the bad rubber. I just wore gloves and did acetone and lots of Q-tips. So what I did was I cleaned the bumper off both standoffs, and I just took a flat belt, a small flat belt out of one of those Amazon flat belt kits, and just wrapped it around the post a couple times. And you've got to be careful because, like I said in an earlier video, that thickness matters. Because if you're too far out, then you can't hit the in cylinders and it won't complete the power on self test. And if it's too thin, you'll slam into the spindle or you'll run off the edge of the platter. So I think I got it dialed in just right. I think. Yep. We're good. Alright. So let me get the lid on here and we'll start backing this drive up. Alright, so here we go. Let's try this again. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we can use this to back up. And of course, I get this drive put all the way back together, and I forgot to put that in there, the spacer for the magnet. You know what? I don't even care anymore. This drive's destined for the trash anyways, but I just want to back it up because there's some neat little software and other little tidbits on there that I want to save. So, yeah, that's the whole purpose of even doing this. There we go. Alright, I got it all backed up onto the BlueSCSI over here, which is in a green shell. Anyways, so what's even more mind-blowing is the fact that it's showing no errors. Can this thing be trusted? Absolutely not. But that's yeah. So, I'm curious. Let's do a seek test. I'm just going to exercise the head a bit. Then I'm going to do a low level format. Well, it's kind of cool to know that that drive actually held up and it doesn't have any bad sectors. But anyways, can't be trusted, and the only reason why I fixed it is to back it up. So I'm going to get that out of the way and just put like a BlueSCSI or something in here. That way the person that this goes to won't have any problems. So we're going to move that out of the way and move on to the BlueSCSI. But anyways, speaking of molten rubber, my screwdriver of 20 years, which 20 years is a long time, is doing the same exact thing. I love it. Nasty. BlueSCSI's installed, and I've got two images on there. One's blank, and one is my default System 7.1 install for the SE30. And I think it should work. Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Alright. I just like how quick that is. So everything is good. Now they're both the same because I'm using an image library from like Disc Jockey or whatever. Which I can't run Disc Jockey because I don't have a modern Mac. but I still have the images that other people has made. So, and that's it. Now, I did power this BlueSCSI off of the Molex connector, and here's the reason why. Because when this thing's closed up, you can't really get to this thing anymore. There are 3D printed brackets that'll go here, exposes the SD card and stuff like that, which is nice, but I don't have that for this unit. So what I've done is I've powered this BlueSCSI off the internal 5 volts instead of using termination power. And the reason why I did that is because if you power this with termination power, it's fine if this is the only one on the chain. But if you go to plug in an external BlueSCSI, it won't run both. So if I energize the internal BlueSCSI from the power supply directly, that gives me the ability to plug an external BlueSCSI in here to install software and stuff like that, which is exactly what I did to create this image on that SD card. So everything is working fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get the cover put back on here and put this thing back together, because I think we're good. Everything seems to be working fine. I've not had any issues. Alright, well, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Everything seems to be working fine, so that is the end of this one. The motherboard works. There's RAM in there. There's a BlueSCSI in there. The analog board has been taken care of. There's some caps that could use attention, but nothing critical because I'm staying within a certain budget. So I think that's going to wrap this one up. So we're going to finish off part 1 here. And part 2, we're going to work on the battery bombed one. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and all of that fun stuff. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching.